Okay, well, first of all, I'd like to thank this morning's speakers and chairs for a terrific session to wrap things up. And just a couple announcements and a little bit of interaction here. But before we break into that, a couple housekeeping things. People signed up for CME credit. Make sure to turn in your forms. For those of you traveling, we have people that are tracking your flights. Everything looks good, but you can check with the staff. But most importantly, I want to acknowledge and introduce you to the people who put this meeting on, the staff. They're a tremendous group of people, and I'm going to introduce them. They're in the back of the room and scattered around. Hold your applause to the end. We'll applaud for all of them. First of all, the committee that worked together on this, Tor Hagstead and Jan Storm Mathisen and Stephen LeConte. To them, a great thanks. Maybe the three of you all, ones here, could stand up. Stephen and Jan. I don't know if Stephen's still in the room. There he is. Okay. Thank you. And then I'm going to mention the rest of the staff here. Hal Irvin, who many of you know was involved. Could you stand as I call your name? Hal Irvin, who was involved with pulling all this together, communicating with everybody. Diane Childers, who's somewhere back there. Diane, there you are, who has been working on all your travel and communications and everything. Dana Nichols in the back somewhere over there. Dana, raise your hand. Who's also been pulling everything together for people. Brian Brindle, who's been sitting up here mostly, who's back there handling the IT. Jerry, who's been handling all this IT up front here, as you've seen. Gary Mason, who I don't see, who's been handling all the shuttles, there he is. Megan Marshall, who's been working on programs and so forth, has her hand up in the back. Ashley Winters-Heron, who unfortunately I think felt ill and had to go home. Is that right, folks? Earlier, but she's been involved with making all these programs and all the materials for the meeting. John Pastor, who's been involved with the public relations and the media, who's right there. David Hungate, who's been taking the photographs, who's right here. Brittany May, who's in the back there, has been working on communications and flights for everybody. And I'm sure I missed somebody. I'm trying to get my list. Please remind me, staff, is there anybody else that back there I didn't mention? Oh, Logan. Yeah, Logan, where are you? I hear you. I see your hand. Who's been also working on the communications and PR. And Sarah, I can't see who. Okay, Deb, raise your hand, please, who's been helping us with all aspects of this. So a lot of people. Please join me in giving them a great round of applause for everything they've done. Thank you very much. You guys went way above and beyond the call of duty for everything. So Tor and I are going to take a couple minutes here and talk about some concrete actions. First of all, great meeting, superb. What are the next steps? We've already had some discussions. There'll be more. We want to get a little bit of feedback. One of the things we wanted to plan was a meeting in Oslo in 2018 in fall. I think that would be early fall in Oslo, maybe late summer. There'll be people working on that. We wanted to plan to have working groups and committees between the universities to say, what have we got here? Do we have something? How do we go forward? And how do we get money and put it together to fund projects between groups? And I think everybody in this room knows that you find your science where you find it, right? You find your colleagues. You don't want to be constrained. Like the best project wouldn't be necessarily this place in Virginia and this place in Denmark. Or you find your colleagues. We all know that. On the other hand, there are opportunities and there are concrete support structures when groups come together, whether it's a university, a state, an organization, the NIH, whatever it might be, and somebody has to do it and take the lead. And so our proposal is that what we've heard over a couple days offers some spectacular opportunities, complementarity, bringing resources and people together. And it is about people. It's always about people, not just institutions. Here in Virginia, we have some programs, one of which many of the Virginia folks are familiar with, where a couple universities get together and partner with the company, and the state can invest matching funds along with the company to support research projects of a translational nature, of which neuroscience is one of the great areas of focus. There are other areas as well. So there already is a model system in place here in Virginia for supporting this kind of work. We have other pilot projects. For example, UVA and Virginia Tech announced a pilot in neuroscience a couple weeks ago for collaborative research that they're funding jointly. Now, I don't know exactly what mechanisms our partners in the Nordic countries may have available, but I know there are lots of contacts with the government there, and there are other agencies here that I think could look at what came out of this meeting and see opportunities that go all the way from fundamental discovery to translation and actually to care. And this is a hot topic and area. So our proposal is that we work on trying to put together some opportunities to create real funding and real programs to keep at least some subset of this group together who would like to be involved into a tangible entity to show the world about something really exciting going on. So that's the starting point.
Let's give that a hand.
Yeah. Let's give it a check. You'll get a hand, but
Okay.
I also want, there is one person that is actually has been responsible for all of this, and I think you know who I'm hinting at. And without whom nothing of this would have been possible at all. So, Mike Friedlander, I think it's important that we acknowledge the enormous amount of effort you've put down here, and I'm your longtime friend, and I would also say admirer. You have taught me so much, not only about neuroscience, but how you administer and lead your people in the different institutions you have been in charge of, that I've been so fortunate to visit over some years. And thank you also for giving us from the Nordic countries the opportunity to come here to beautiful Virginia, to the beautiful Shenandoah Valley, the mountains here, the Star City, and join you here with your immensely dedicated and illustrious crew of people that you have here in Virginia. So give Mike and his people here a big hand. And then I'd like to call two colleagues that could represent our Nordic countries, Anders Nykjær and Linda Bergersen.
I presume we can stay where you are.
No,
well,
come.
we can't hear you. Come on.
Come here.
Come on down.
Come
I
up.
want to hear your thoughts on this subject going forward.
So Linda first. Yeah, Linda first. Please take the microphone.
Well, being good is contagious, and of course, coming here to Virginia, it's contagious to be here. It's a good start, and of course, the most important thing is to think about all the young scientists that is actually holding the future. So, so the possibility to create an environment that people coming from Scandinavia to Virginia and vice versa is, I think that's something that we should go for.
Good. Okay. We'll do it.
Yeah, I guess what I'm going to say is kind of redundant because I like your idea. We talked about it yesterday. But first of all, again, I would say it has been absolutely fantastic meeting. I have learned a lot, even though it started out as Norway, Virginia meeting. No, it is absolutely wonderful. Knowing that I hope the research on neuroscience landscape in Denmark, I can see many opportunities for interaction and hopefully also obtaining synergy, and I'm very much sure it's the same both in Norway, Sweden, and Finland. So, as you also pointed out, perhaps we should try to go a bit beyond having these meetings that hopefully will also circulate in the Scandinavian countries, and we'll come back here. Should one try to raise money for, let's say, exchange stays, postdoc stipends for collaborative projects? I mean, there are at least foundations in Scandinavia, and we could ask those. I don't know if there would be similar opportunities here in Virginia that one could apply for.
Yep. No, I think it's a great idea. I think we all appreciate that having fellows and trainees go between institutions is the glue that bonds institutions, and I think we could look at funding opportunities in that regard, including the federal government, as well as the state of Virginia that has something now called the Virginia Research Investment Fund that's looking to invest in and catalyze novel and collaborative research. And so I hope that we can identify partners in Nordic countries for that, and I hope we can sign and develop several memos of understanding between the respective institutions to formalize those connections going forward. I know my colleagues at UVA and VCU have already expressed interest in that, and hopefully we can do that for next steps. Okay?
So that would be fantastic. Anders, I hope we can stick together as Scandinavian and Nordic brothers and join hands in this. And since actually we as Scandinavians, we have been involved in many crimes, but also some good things in Europe. We are actually responsible for the English language. In UK, they used to speak some Celtic languages until the Vikings arrived. And as you know, King Canute the Mighty, he was ruling from Denmark. He was ruling UK for some time until the Viking King Harald and William the Conqueror started to fight against each other over the supremacy of the British Isles. And of course, as you know, the Viking descendant William the Conqueror from Normandy, he won that battle. And later on, or perhaps a bit later on, there was this ancestor of mine. He was actually from the same farm where my father comes from. He went on to discover Greenland, and his son, Leif Erikson, went on to discover and invent America. So we have quite a long line of connections to this continent already, and we would like to explore further possibilities along those lines.
And you thought we had our issues living in a border state in Virginia, just like in Scandinavia. Okay, well, I think we've laid out some ideas for those of you who want to hang out and talk about some of these ideas more over lunch. You're welcome to. We're going to get a group of people together and continue on. And lastly, again, I want to thank you. I want to thank all of the speakers, all of the poster presenters, and everybody who came to this meeting. The energy's been fantastic. It's just what we hoped for. And please stay around for lunch. You can take it with you or have it here. Safe travels to everybody, and let's keep in touch. Thank you all.